There have been some mouth-watering ties already in the Champions League. There's more to come. And as we go further, because we're going to be predicting our Champions League favourites and who's going to win it, there's even more potential for mouth-watering ties. Let's start with Arsenal Real Madrid. Have you got a chance?
Yeah, you've always got a chance. It's a cup tie. Real Madrid have got so many good individual players, and there is that aura thing, and there is that fear that they strike into you. I think Arsenal are at a massive disadvantage that the second leg is at the Bernabeu. If it was the other way around, maybe I'd look at it slightly differently. But obviously, they're the favourites. But to say Arsenal don't have a chance, I don't think is fair. I think a high-level Premier League team has a chance against anyone in Europe because I think the Premier League is incredibly competitive at the moment. Are Arsenal at their best? No. But to write them off completely, particularly when they're going to have Bukayo Saka back, you'd imagine by that point, I think would be wrong.
All right. So I have Madrid as one of my favourites, so I don't think Arsenal stand a chance. And I also think Madrid are so strong going forward that I just don't think you can defend against them. But you also disagree. You think Arsenal have a chance?
I think Arsenal got a chance. I do think ultimately Madrid will go through, but Madrid, okay, barring the City game in the last round, they don't really blow teams away in the knockout phase when they've gone on to win it. It's always been by the skin of their teeth, some incredible moment. We saw it against Atletico, just about got through. Real Madrid, I wouldn't say they play up or down to their level, but they just find a way to get over the line in the Champions League. It's almost like they enjoy the drama. The way they won that game, the way they celebrated against Atletico, it felt a lot better to them than when they beat City and blew them away. I feel like there's something when it's like all the pressure's on, those players thrive. And I think with a Madrid team that have got, in my opinion, 3 of the top 10 players in the world in Jude, in Mbappe, and then Vinny Jr. Just too much talent. We will not see Vinny Jr. have another game like that. And he's normally a guy that shines bright when the lights are on in the Champions League. Against Atletico, that was probably the worst game I've ever seen him play. But I think the talent level is just overwhelming. But Arsenal will make it competitive. I don't think Madrid leave the Emirates with a win in the first leg. And it's what Arsenal can go and do in the second leg. It's a very tough place to go. We don't expect Arsenal to go and win there. But if they can keep it close, then there's no reason why Arsenal can't trouble Madrid in these ties.
All right. One thing I was going to say about the celebrations, you've seen the Jude Bellingham video where someone throws a bottle and he climbs as if he's jumped on someone to head it away.
Yeah, I mean, it must have been a plastic bottle or he's not doing that.
Right, he's an icon. Let it be, man. Harry's don't want to have... Nobody can have fun around Harry.
It's an empty 7-Up bottle or something.
Other brands available. PSG, Villa, we've all probably got PSG going through.
Yeah, I think so. Although, again, I wouldn't rule Aston Villa out. They've got, obviously, I think the second leg at home, which I think is a big advantage. Yeah. I think when you get to this stage of the competition, that's massive. Unai Emery will know a lot of the players at PSG. He'll understand a lot about the thinking. I'm sure he knows Luis Enrique quite well as well because of, obviously, the links with sort of Spanish football and stuff. So I'd imagine that Villa will be very well prepared for this. And then it comes down to individual quality. I don't think tactically there'll be much in it. But I think PSG edge this year.
I think this is the magic that PSG have that they've missed in previous years. Is they've got a tactician and he's got his players and his style. Whereas previously, I think they've had great managers and not a great 11. Or they've had a great 11. Other way around, basically. Whereas this time around, I think when I've watched them, I go, this is a good match made in heaven. And hence, I also am going through Barca, Dortmund. Barca, one of your favourite teams.
Yeah.
Don't have a chance. This is the one. This
Dortmund team are poor. If you look at their form in the Bundesliga and Barcelona, I don't think they're the finished article just yet, but they are cooking something very special, and I think they're on the brink of another dynasty. I think they need to bring in a few more pieces. I feel like they need to fill out that squad, but just in terms of players that get you off your seat, they've just got magical players, and I can't speak highly enough of Lamine Yamal. He's the best 17-year-old that we have ever seen. I include Lionel Messi in that as well. He is absolutely incredible. I wasn't old enough to see Pele. People in the comments probably mentioned Pele, but he is a player that can already do it. I wouldn't say do it all, but his repertoire is so large, and I feel like in a game like this against Borussia Dortmund, who aren't very good, we're going to see Yamal come to the fore.
Do you know what as well? You talk about Barcelona not quite being at the peak yet. There's still more to come. I actually think a massive issue is the fact that they're not playing at home right now. Like it's not as daunting a place to go. The stadium's not always full. Like there is that kind of weird atmosphere because it's an Olympic stadium, an athletic stadium more than it is a football ground. So I think that's another massive piece that they're missing. Once they get into the new camp with those players and that huge crowd, then I think they become a much bigger threat. I think this season it's too early for them. I think they'll get through this tie, but in terms of overall winners, I think it's too early for them.
What's really interesting about this Barcelona team is that when you watch them at home and away, it feels like both games are just at a neutral ground. Like they've stopped playing games like the Benfica tie. both games, I was like, it doesn't matter if there's a crowd
Yeah.
here. They've just got guys who want to play football and score goals, which is, I think they've played into that really well. But now let's get into the deeper conversation. Bayern take on Inter. And this, for me, I think whoever wins this will win the Champions League. And I don't think Bayern will win it.
Crazy.
I think Inter have the nous that they've sort of like built up over the years. They don't have the individual quality, but I think because Madrid will meet PSG, someone special is going out there. They will take on Barca. I think Barca are too susceptible on the counter. They can see too many goals. So therefore, my favourites from the Champions League are Inter Milan. Who are yours? Considering what we've done now, because we're saying that we've Madrid against PSG and Inter against Barca.
I've got a soft spot for Italian football, so I'm always going to lean towards Inter because I feel like I know more about them and I know more about the way they set up. You're absolutely right to say they've got the nous. They're a really well-coached side, really well-drilled. You look at their squad sometimes and you see players that 3-4 years ago couldn't cut it in the Premier League, and you look at them and you're like, how is this guy still playing at the top level? Mkhitaryan's an example of that. You look at even Arnautovic, who's in and around the setup. They've got players to be able to impact on big moments. But more importantly than all of that, they've got, for me, one of the best coaches in European football. And he feels like someone that could figure out a game plan suited for pretty much anybody. And so they shouldn't fear anyone. They shouldn't fear Bayern Munich, and especially a Bayern Munich with Harry Kane, because we all know that Harry Kane doesn't win silverware.
When you juxtapose it, because I do think that Bayern versus Inter Milan tie was probably the closest in terms of it will be the tightest tie. I think Inter just about make it through. They're an incredible team, but I think in the Champions League, you need those top-level players to get you over the line. And that's where they fall short. I've been such a big fan of this Inter Milan team. When you just see the way they're set up, see how not regimented, but see how everybody sticks to the game plan. They just manage to get through ties methodically. I just think when they come up against teams that have got more talent than them, that's where they're going to come proper. I don't have them as my favourites. I still cannot look past Real Madrid. But I do think we're going to be blessed with an El Clasico Champions League final for the first time ever. I just think the stage is set for it. Again, this is a Barcelona team that are fledgling. I think they'll be on the stage multiple times in the coming years. But it's a Real Madrid team that, after winning the Champions League last year, they added a Kylian Mbappe. I think this tournament is there for the taking.
And Barca have done really well against Madrid in the league this season.
They've absolutely slapped
it.
I need a Barcelona-Arsenal final. That's what I need. Because I need a repeat of 2006 because that has haunted me for so many years. And I think the only way I'm ever going to get over that is if we get it and Arsenal do the business. So, look, I think Barca are good enough over the course of two legs to beat either Bayern or Inter. I wouldn't make them favourites, but I don't think that you can write off the winner of that tie, considering I think it's going to be Barcelona. I don't think it's a given that the winner of Inter and Bayern beats them.
I want to clarify, when I said the winner of that tie win, I don't mean Bayern. I'm saying Inter will win the Champions League if they win. Bayern are going out in the next round. If they beat Inter. One thing we haven't spoken about that much is PSG. And I would say they're dark horses, considering what they've done to Liverpool. And considering the fact that, and I said this in a separate video, I felt like that Liverpool game was their turning point. Like now they've arrived and we've gone to one of two, maybe three most difficult stadiums in Europe, and we've done the job, and we've suffered in that game, and then we blasted them away in the other one. They might be thinking, Madrid, we'll take them on.
I think with these new money clubs, and I'm talking about the three biggest ones in Chelsea, Man City, and PSG, the Champions League is the hardest hurdle to overcome. Saw how long it took Chelsea. Obviously, Roman came in 2003. Chelsea didn't win it until 2012. We see when the Man City money came in, they only won it a couple of years ago. You have to go through the heartbreak of Champions League, and we've seen it at PSG. Remontada is one of the most famous Champions League games in history, and they've gone through it. I know it's a different iteration without the Galacticos, but this might be the year where they can use that heartbreak, use that experience. The fans kind of know what they're getting into. This might be the year that they shock people, in the year without the superstars.
I think as well, it's important to kind of note what we're expecting those teams to be up against domestically as well. Real Madrid are going to be in a title race. Inter are going to be in a title race. The likes of PSG will probably have their league title wrapped up by them, which means they can prioritise. I think Bayern could be in a similar position as well. So I think that's important because people talk about rhythm, and rhythm is important as well. But I think being able to kind of just say at the weekend, you know, we can take 4 or 5 players out, keep them fresh for Tuesday or Wednesday night. I think that could be one of the marginal gains that sides can make in this competition going forward.
Final 2 questions for you then. In the comments, who do you think is going to win the Champions League? And if you have watched Pele or Maradona at the age of 17, let us know what they were like.